So mold is a growth form of what we would commonly call a fungus. So there are two main types. You have yeasts and you have mold. So the yeasts are what we use for making bread, beer. They basically make Friday nights a lot better.
Yeah.
But they are single cells. And if you remember, like from basic biology, cells are little blocks that make up our bodies. When we talk about microorganisms, their whole body is just one cell. So with yeast, it's just one small cell. It will divide and make two cells and on and on. Molds are multicellular to an extent. So they create long branched filaments, but these are just one cell thick. So you can almost see them with the naked eye. You can see the filaments relatively easily. But you can also see when they grow on a surface, they'll be a lot like the bluish green molds that you see on oranges, which is normally penicillin producing mold. So and you would also know it from bread mold.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these produce long filaments, and the filaments will grow into the bread or into the orange. And that's the advantage of that growth form, is that it can penetrate substances so it can extract more nutrients. Whereas yeasts are just stuck on the surface because they can't actually exert physical pressure to gain access to nutrients below the surface. And so molds are typically very successful organisms. But they're also the part of the fungus which is the main body of the fungus, but it's the part we rarely see. So most people would be familiar with mushrooms. So mushrooms, if you think about them, are basically like the fruits or the flowers produced. But the mold and the filaments are underground. So you never see most of that. And so it's only when they're ready to spread their spores that you really see them. And even with things like bread molds or the mold on oranges, the color is from the spores. And so that's how they transmit. And so the spores are easily picked up by wind or can be kicked into the air by raindrops. And then once they're in an air current, they spread around the place until they land on something tasty. Then they germinate, and little filaments of mold will grow into the new surface.